Namaste, everyone. Michele Granberg here. Welcome to another episode of Positive Energy, bringing enlightening television for your evolving soul. As spiritual beings, we are naturally intuitive. Intuition is our sixth sense. It is our built-in inner guidance system designed to keep us safe and help us navigate this life journey. So, are you ready to awaken your inner psychic? My guest is Tracy Farquhar, professional psychic medium. She's here to help us explore the nature of intuition, psychic abilities, and mediumship, and offer simple tools that everyone can use. Take a deep breath and stay where you are, because positive energy starts right now. Hey, I have Tracy Farquhar with me. Yay!
Hi, Michele.
Welcome to Positive Energy.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So you are a practicing psychic.
I am.
You do it full time. It's your profession. Love it. And you offer tarot and mediumship readings. And a reading, for those who don't know, a reading is where you sit basically one-on-one with someone and you tune into them. You tune into their energy. So let's talk a little bit more about what you do, and in a way that people can relate it to themselves as well, of course. So we know that, the term psychic and psychics are very common in mainstream, yet there are people who might not really understand what that means. So in your words, what are psychic abilities, and does everyone have them?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my definition of psychic is a little bit different from the mainstream definition. I believe a psychic is just someone who can raise their vibration to a point where they can connect with the energy of another person. And so a psychic is someone who connects with the energy of a person, and a medium is someone who connects with the energy of spirit. So it's just a matter of raising a vibration. As we know, everything is made of energy and varying levels of vibrational energy. And so a psychic is able to tune into the life path of a person to give them some guidance.
Nice. So it means that information exists like around us in our field as energy? Is that how the mechanics work?
That's how I believe it works.
I believe you. I believe that too. I agree. Yeah. So do you make a distinction between intuition and psychic abilities?
I do, and not everyone does, but I feel that intuition is a little bit less deliberate. And so we can have intuition, which is just kind of a non-deliberate way of tuning into energy. We can have intuition about people, places, things that are going on, where with my definition of psychic is a little bit more deliberate. So it is a deliberate tuning in, a deliberate raising of the vibration with a specific purpose, which is normally to give some guidance to the person that you're reading.
So it's kind of like formalizing that natural gift.
Yes.
So it's like intuition is always on. It never really turns off.
Right.
But you're taking your intuition and channeling it into a particular method to give someone information they're asking for.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's good to get that distinction. So what do you think is the biggest misconception about psychics? I know there's a lot of old misconceptions. Maybe they have gone away at this point. The idea of sort of the gypsy with the kerchief on her head in front of a crystal ball behind in a dark room with lots of, I guess music there and everything. Or psychics are people who can read your mind.
Yes.
You probably get a lot of that at parties if you tell people. People are like, can you read my mind? Don't read my mind. Or those who can kind of foresee or predict the future. But
right.
What do you think about the misconceptions that you want to debunk?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of people still think that psychics are fortune tellers, that our sole purpose is to predict the future rather than just tuning into someone's energy. There is a certain amount of precognition, which is seeing the possibilities of the future as they exist as possibilities, but not necessarily as stone-clad realities. We're always creating our future. And so to me, a psychic is assisting and supporting us in creating our own futures, not necessarily telling us what's going to happen, which takes away our power to create our future. So the way that I perceive the role of a psychic is to support and guide someone. And sometimes that does involve showing people possibilities for the future, but not necessarily predicting them as something that is inevitable.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because a lot of people, hopefully that clears things up for people, that the future is not written in stone. There's not a pre-existing future that you're locked into. There is not fate in that way, but we do create our reality, and that goes along with those laws of energy.
Right.
So you have a little bit of a counseling role, right? Guiding role, support role that you play when you do a reading.
Yeah.
It's not just, here you go, here are the facts, you're on your way.
Right. Yeah.
So, given that intuition is our inner guidance system that we're all hardwired with, why is it important to develop your intuition? And what happens when you don't? You might have an example in your own life when you haven't followed your intuition versus when you do. What shows up?
Well, intuition, as you said, it's hardwired in us at birth. It's something that we come into this life with. It's another one of our senses, just like the five senses. It's just that as we grow up, our culture kind of influences what we believe about our intuition. And so we tend to trust the five senses over that energetic sense. We tend to not trust what we feel if we don't see it. But that sense of vibrational connection can really guide us in such a way that our five senses can't. So if we follow our intuition, it's connecting us with our heart center. It's connecting us with our higher self, our spirit being, which is also connected to spirit and source energy. And it's in that energy where we are most connected with our real, true, authentic self. And when we're disconnected from that, we're more easily led, we're more easily thrown off course. We're not connecting with our dreams and desires and our heart-centered sense of self. We're more likely to find ourselves in places that don't make us happy, that are not really where we want to be. As far as an example, I just recently was driving in this direction, which is about an hour from my home, and was on the highway, and I got that, what I call an intuitive hit, which is kind of like an internal voice that I hear that said, stay away from the trucks. And I heard it loud and clear, and it wasn't with my ear, but I heard it internally. And so I was staying away from the trucks. And I wound up behind a truck, wound up slowing down because I was still getting that message to leave enough room behind this truck. And within a minute or so, the tread came off the tire of the truck and came plummeting toward my car. But since I had backed off, it hit the road instead of me. So this is where we can really be assisted and guided. I don't know where that came from. It could have been my higher self, a guide, a deceased loved one. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that I listened to it.
It reached you, and you listened to it.
Yeah.
Because of who you are and what you teach and what you try to live by example. And it's a great dramatic example that almost would make a good, TV segment.
Yes.
But I think it happened to you perhaps so you could share it with others, such a dramatic, example of you listening to your intuition. It's not always like that every day, though. Sometimes it's just the little things that our intuition is trying to help move us along, in a direction that flows and help keep us safe as well.
If you set an intention for something, that's like setting the course of the GPS. And the directions come in those little subtle clues and cues and synchronicities that come in your life. And when you're connected with the intuition, you're going to pay attention to those things. When you're disconnected from it and you're all up in your head, you tend to miss them. And then it becomes a little bit more of a struggle. Yeah.
And would you say sometimes those little things get louder, or they get more obvious, or they sort of, not always, but...
Not really. What really happens is that our ego is the loud voice. Our intuitive voice is usually the quiet voice. But when you get used to the difference, you know where to tune in. That's really the higher guidance rather than the fearful ego voice that is trying to protect you from something that really isn't even real.
So you can tell a little bit by what it says to you and the way it feels.
That's right.
As well as a qualitative difference to it. I understand exactly what you mean by that. So how does one learn to trust, I guess, or learn to get beyond one's limitations around recognizing and developing one's intuition, even maybe to the point of being psychic and offering psychic tools for others like yourself?
Well, since the intuitive voice is so quiet, we need to develop a practice of going within. And that can be meditation, but that meditation doesn't have to be any prescribed format. So some people are intimidated by the idea of meditation because they think it means an hour sitting in the corner chanting. And if that's what works for you, that's fine. But some people, it's, 5-minute walk outside in nature. Some people, it's just putting on headphones with some quiet music. Some people, it's just sitting quietly for just a few minutes. But whatever form that takes for you, it's really important that you add that into your daily routine as just a way to kind of pull your energy in, because all day long we're constantly distracted and putting our energy out. And so we don't hear the subtle voice, we only hear the loud voices, which is usually the intellectual, logical ego voice. So developing that kind of practice, and then really just playing some little games with your intuition. Make it fun. When the phone rings, don't look at it. Take a few seconds, let it ring a few times, and see if you can tune in to who it is instead of immediately looking at it to see who it is. You can play little games like that. Try a little telepathy with somebody. Ask them to look at a picture and send it to you and see if you pick up anything. It should be fun. It should be lighthearted. And it's a way to, again, it raises the vibration. And sometimes you'd be really amazed at what you can do.
Yeah, once you start to learn about it and the theories behind it and then just practice with it, it's going to grow. I guess it's kind of like going to the gym and first your muscles are a little weak and then they get stronger and stronger and stronger. So it really is like a muscle that you have to pay attention to and kind of work with.
Absolutely.
So sort of, certainly related to that, another way that intuition plays a role and that psychics work is through mediumship. So we hear a lot about mediumship nowadays. It feels like lots of folks are doing mediumship. They're writing books, they're doing live gallery events, some are even on television. So what is mediumship though, in your words, and what's your personal process for doing it?
Well, when I teach psychic development, I teach it in different layers of vibrational awareness. So intuition is one layer, psychic abilities are a little bit higher vibration, and then the mediumship is a little bit higher. So again, it's tuning into energy, and the energy of spirit is at a little bit of a higher vibration than the energy of a person, because they're in the non-visible, non-physical realm. And so to me, it's every medium is psychic. That doesn't mean that they practice psychic readings, but not every psychic practices mediumship. So it is, again, very similar in that you're tuning into energy, but it does require a little bit more of a concentrated effort to raise that frequency. There was a lot of allowing involved, and so again, tuning inward, it needs to feel natural, which again, in our everyday world, it usually doesn't. So really tuning in, really listening. There are different ways that you can get messages from spirit. Clairvoyance is a visual image that you can get in your mind, which I liken to a dream image. Clairsentience is a feeling. And clairaudience is hearing, not necessarily with the ear, but with the third ear, which is kind of like how you hear in a dream. So you need to really be able to focus inward and pick up those clues and those very subtle images and sounds, again, very much like dream images. And I find that when I do mediumship, and psychic readings, in fact, I have my eyes closed all the time because I'm focused so much inward and I don't want to be distracted by anything I'm seeing. So it's just really cultivating an ability to tune in and trust what you're getting. And the only way to do that is to practice.
Yeah. Yeah, practice. To have a regular proactive practice as well as maybe practicing it with someone who can guide you, maybe in a group setting,
right?
Or one-on-one.
Right.
So those are really great tools, and I'm glad that you talked about exactly what it means to sort of raise your frequency. For us, we can just sort of kind of do it, but for others, they need some more grounded in some tips and tools in that way.
Yeah, and actually one of the most powerful ways to do that is with your breath. So the breath really does change your vibration. It changes the level of frequency that you're connecting with. And so setting the intention to connect with spirit sometimes automatically gives you this kind of deeper breathing, just kind of comes to you, which kind of alters your consciousness just a bit.
Got it. But have you found that most people can do it? Most people can at least start practicing those tips and tools and get better and better?
Yeah.
But certainly, again, not everybody is born a medium, but again,
Right.
you learned to some degree, even though it's natural.
What I feel is what we have to learn is to remove the blocks to it.
Yeah.
Because it is a natural part of us to connect on an energetic level. But because we spend a lifetime of cultural conditioning, which does not have the belief system that this is real, surrounding us all the time in our homes and media, in our daily lives, most people don't accept any of this. So we build up the walls to it. Children often demonstrate natural abilities, but then they kind of unlearn it because they start to catch on that people don't really believe them or nobody else really talks about this. So to me, it's more helping people to remove the blocks to it than it is teaching them how to do it. When I teach psychic development, I have a lot of different ways that they can practice. So we try psychometry, usually is the first thing I have them try, which is holding an object, tuning into the energy of an object in order to pick up the energy of the owner of the object. The reason I think that works so well for the majority of people is that there's no cues from the five senses that can be telling them anything. There's nothing that they can pick up from looking at the object or smelling it or feeling it. They're just really tuning in just naturally to the vibration of it. And so people who think they have no ability whatsoever will sometimes be really amazed at what they can pick up, and then their confidence goes up. So every time somebody gets something that's significant, their confidence goes up, and then they're listening a little bit more.
Yeah. So that's a great exercise that you use in your classes, and people can try at home.
Right.
Grab a partner, or maybe is it better with someone you don't know very well, perhaps even?
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
But that's a little more difficult to find.
Right. Some stranger on the street, come
Right.
here.
Right. So when I do the classes, it works really well because I have a class of people that don't know each other and pair them up. And then when I do a higher level psychic development class, which I call psychic savants, which is people who really want to become readers, I will start a Facebook page where people can come on and request readings from them. So that's a way for them to practice doing phone readings or email readings or however they feel comfortable with people that they don't know. Because again, when you're reading somebody that you know, you tend to doubt it because you think, well, I'm just picking this up because I know them. And it's a little bit easier to build your confidence with somebody you don't know anything about.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you see that in lots of beginners. Just releasing the doubt is sometimes the biggest leap that they can take in all of this. And it's true in life.
Yeah.
In regards to learning anything new as well,
Sure.
especially when it comes to trusting these more subtle abilities that we have.
Yeah.
So you've been doing mediumship for a while now and doing galleries, reading people in groups. That's what a gallery event is. What's your experience of our loved ones who are on the other side, as they say, but they're really right here, right? What messages do you hear most frequently from them? Is there a common message, a common theme that comes through, or several?
Yeah, there are a few. Yeah, mostly though they just want to say hello. They just want to say, "I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still with you. I still visit you. I still see you. I see what you're doing. I'm proud of you. I'm so happy for you." They want to celebrate with us, so the joys of our lives. They want to let us know that they're watching our children grow. And sometimes they want to let us know that they've let go of some of the things that plagued them in this life. So the things that worried them, or maybe illnesses, things that they suffered in this life are no longer with them. When they leave the physical body, they leave those things behind. And so if there's unresolved conflict or arguments, they're not holding on to that anymore. And so often the people in the audiences at these events think that Spirit is either going to tell them some really profound, life-changing advice. And usually, Spirit doesn't have a whole lot of advice, that, and if they do, it's pretty mundane, They'll say, you got a leak in the basement you have to take care of, and, you really should get that ankle checked out because there's something going on, But, they usually just want to let us know how well we're doing sometimes they want to talk about their own lives so that we can learn from what they feel they could have changed in their lives. And so they don't often have a sense of regret about anything, because again, that's a human thing that we kind of, hang on to those things as in the physical. But they will say, I worked really hard my whole life and I didn't have a lot of fun. And so, use that as an example for you, because life is really short. And I didn't realize that until I transitioned, and I kind of looked back on that life. And
very different perspective.
Yeah.
Do they say that they do review their whole life? That is, because I've always believed that.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a life review part.
Absolutely, yeah. And they see it from a totally, as you said, totally different perspective.
Not non-judgmental perspective,
Right.
Higher perspective.
Right.
What
And
did I learn?
They're released from any of the conflicts or struggles that they had in the life. And so they're having this perspective almost as though they're watching someone else's life. And so again, it's not judgmental. It's not full of regret or wishing that they had done things differently. It's just an acknowledgement. Oh yeah, well, maybe I could have done something a little bit differently, but I learned from it. And hopefully if I can impart that message to those of you who are still here, you can learn from it as well.
Yeah. It's interesting that our loved ones, when we're still here, we want to comfort them as if something on the other side could harm them, and it's really, they're positioned quite the opposite. They just want to bring us, they want to teach us, tell us that they love us and provide comfort, want us to live a happier life while we are still here.
Absolutely. So sometimes people feel like they need to apologize for something, or they're worried that they did something wrong. And, Spirit's usually, it's okay, it's no big deal.
Bygones.
Yeah. It doesn't affect me anymore, it's...
I'm fine.
Right, yeah, I'm perfect. And, it's you guys that need to start working on some of this stuff, not me, right?
Yeah, so I can only imagine, and I've been witness to many people having these kinds of experiences in mediumship galleries, and they cry, and you're right, there's a release. It is a healing experience. I'm sure you see that time after time.
Absolutely.
Hearing from the loved ones, they're okay, them saying, I love you, you're okay. There's such catharsis and closure very often with that.
Yeah, I mean, I say it's not a spirit gallery until somebody cries.
And then it's official.
Yeah.
The first tear is shed.
Right, there's always a box of tissues out somewhere, because in the beginning, that used to bother me a little. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't make people cry all the time. I can't do this. But then I started to realize that it was a release.
Part of the process.
And,
it's actually a good
and
thing.
it's healing, and we need to release that. It's part of the grieving process. And I think there's a lot of healing that can be done through the connection with Spirit and understanding that they're not really gone.
So you do what you do in Oakland, New Jersey, where you have a center. Do you want to say just a couple of things about your center and what happens there?
So my center is called the Spirit Light Center in Oakland, New Jersey. So we have some classes there. I have other people coming in teaching sometimes. I do galleries there. I meet people one-on-one there. But I also do readings on the phone and via the internet in various ways. And I do some of the galleries in other people's homes and other venues too. So yeah, it's a small little center, but it's big enough where I can host groups there.
Very nice. So I hope people will check it out.
Yes, please.
And reach out to you, because you really are a wonderful reader, and
Thank
people
you.
have really given some great feedback on that.
Thank
So you're going to stick around because we're going to do another show to talk about your new book
Yes.
with Mike Dooley.
Yes.
So I hope people will join us for that as well. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michele.
Tracy, and thank you for the work that you do in the world.
Thank you. It's been a blessing to be here. Thank you so much.
We're wrapping up another enlightening show. Remember to follow your intuition. It will never steer you wrong, because it truly is the language of your soul. And hey, reach out to me for intuitive healing sessions right here in Princeton, New Jersey. Special thanks to Monday Morning Flowers for the beautiful floral arrangement. And thank you so much for watching. Join me next time on Positive Energy.